Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a world where your company's network isn't just, within the four walls of an office anymore. It spans across cities, countries, maybe even continents, and you've got employees connecting from coffee shops, their home offices, airports, pretty much everywhere. Now, every single device, and I mean everything from a standard laptop to a smartphone, a virtual machine way up in the cloud, even like an IoT sensor somewhere, it all needs to be secure. It needs to be functional, and it has to align with the business goals. It's frankly an incredible logistical and security challenge. So today we're diving deep into a really crucial credential, one designed to equip IT professionals to, well, conquer exactly this challenge. We're talking about the Microsoft 365 Certified Endpoint Administrator Associate. You probably know it better by its exam code, the MD-102 certification. Now, if you're working in the IT world, you've probably heard about this, or maybe you're just, intensely curious about how modern organizations actually manage these vast distributed fleets of devices. If so, this deep dive is definitely for you.
Yeah, and what I find truly fascinating here is just watching how the role of an endpoint administrator it's undergone this profound transformation. Really profound. It's just no longer about that traditional image, right, of an IT person physically walking desk to desk, fixing one single desktop, or spending hours meticulously loading operating system images onto machines one by one down in some server room. That's just not the reality for most anymore. Today, it's really about strategically managing and maybe more importantly, proactively securing an entire constellation of diverse devices. We're talking laptops, tablets, smartphones, those powerful virtual desktops becoming more common, and even in some cases, specialized Internet of Things or IoT endpoints. And these are spread across vastly different networks, huge geographies. This evolution, it isn't just about having new tools, it demands this deeply integrated understanding. You need to know system architecture, complex security policies for, a multitude of platforms now. And you've got to have this keen alignment with the broader strategic needs of the business itself.
So this deep dive, we're going to explore precisely what this certification signifies, why its relevance is just escalating so rapidly in our current digital landscape, and crucially, how it uniquely prepares you for a genuinely impactful and I'd say future-proof role in today's dynamic hybrid work environment.
Okay, so our mission today then is to equip you, our listener, with a truly comprehensive understanding of the MD-102. We'll cover what this certification actually is, who it's specifically designed to empower, what essential real-world skills it validates, its powerful and frankly immediate applications in day-to-day IT operations, and maybe most importantly, for many of you listening, how it can dramatically shape and accelerate your career path. We'll be drawing from, the official Microsoft course outline, some in-depth study guides, and also candid, direct experiences shared by folks who've recently conquered this challenging but definitely highly rewarding exam. So before we really immerse ourselves in the specifics, the nuts and bolts of the MD-102, let's just zoom out a bit. Let's talk about the bigger picture. Why has this specific certification become so fundamentally important right now? What are these seismic shifts happening in the world of IT that have, elevated the endpoint administrator to such a pivotal, such a strategic position in pretty much every organization?
That's a really powerful starting point, actually. Because if we connect this to the broader landscape, the modern workplace, it's undergone an undeniable and frankly dramatic transformation, especially over the past decade or so. Think about the exponential rise of hybrid work models, where employees are seamlessly blending working from the office and remote locations. That's huge. Then add in the widespread adoption of bring your own device or BYOD policies. That adds another layer of complexity. And then there's this relentless, almost accelerating push toward pervasive digital transformation across literally all industries. Now, this convergence, this mix of factors, it's introduced just immense operational complexity. And at the same time, it significantly heightens security risks for organizations of all sizes. Doesn't matter if you're a small startup or a massive global enterprise. So the MD-102 certification, it isn't just about acquiring a new set of technical skills. I think it really reflects Microsoft's own philosophical pivot here. Endpoint management is no longer seen as this segmented reactive skill set, confined to break-fix scenarios. It has definitively evolved. It's now a holistic, proactive, and truly strategic discipline. Absolutely central to business continuity today.
Yeah, I can certainly visualize that shift. It really does sound like a complete reimagining of how IT supports the workforce. Can you maybe walk us through that transformation from those traditional methods you mentioned to what we see today? What's the stark contrast there?
Absolutely. Historically, endpoint administration, it relied very heavily on traditional, often quite manual methods. Picture it. A systems administrator meticulously walking from desk to desk, manually configuring each machine. Or maybe an IT department entirely reliant on physical proximity. They're carefully imaging new laptops from a central server, managing configurations primarily through on-premises group policies. Remember those days? That whole approach was inherently time-consuming, incredibly resource-intensive, and fundamentally tied to physical presence within the office environment. Okay, now contrast that with modern management. This new paradigm, it's almost entirely cloud-connected. It's policy-driven. And crucially, it's identity-aware. This paradigm shift, it's powered by these robust integrated tools. Things like Microsoft Endpoint Manager, which really unifies various management solutions, including the big one, Microsoft Intune, and Microsoft Entra ID, which you probably knew as Azure Active Directory. What this means, in practice, is you can effectively manage and secure devices regardless of their physical location, whether they're across town, sitting on a user's home network, or even halfway across the globe. Location becomes almost irrelevant from a management perspective.
That is a profound shift. It impacts not just the IT department's efficiency, right? But the entire organization's agility, its ability to scale. Could you give us a concrete example, maybe like a before and after scenario that truly highlights this dramatic difference in how a company operates day to day?
Yeah, definitely. Let's take a common scenario. Setting up a brand new laptop for a new employee. Okay, in the traditional model, that laptop would first arrive at the corporate office. An IT technician would then have to physically unbox it, load a corporate image onto it, manually install all the necessary applications, configure specific settings. You get the picture. This entire process was laborious. It consumed significant IT resources, often hours per machine, and it was inherently tied to the physical presence of both the device and the technician in the office. Okay, now imagine the modern scenario. A new employee lives maybe thousands of miles away, perhaps in another country. They've never even set foot in your physical office. With modern management, specifically Windows Autopilot, a device can be shipped directly from the vendor straight to that user's home. Upon first login, the moment they connect it to the internet, the device seamlessly connects to the cloud and configures itself entirely over the internet. It automatically pulls down all the corporate policies, the security settings, the full suite of necessary applications for their role. What's truly profound here, and this is the key point, Autopilot isn't just about saving IT time, though it certainly does that. It fundamentally redefines how organizations can scale their workforce geographically. It means talent acquisition is no longer bound by proximity to a physical office. It enables global, truly frictionless onboarding. The MD-102 professional, in this context, becomes an enabler of genuinely borderless business growth. They transform what used to be a logistical nightmare into a competitive advantage, and of course boost user productivity from literally day one.
Wow, that is genuinely transformative. It's not just about making things faster. It's, like you said, fundamentally rethinking how a company can expand and support its people wherever they are. And thinking beyond just Windows devices, the scope of what an endpoint administrator needs to handle today has broadened significantly too, hasn't it? It's a truly heterogeneous environment now, much more complex.
Precisely. That's a huge part of the evolution. The scope of responsibility for an endpoint administrator today, it extends far, far beyond just traditional Windows desktops. The role now encompasses this highly diverse mix of operating systems and device types. You've got the full spectrum of Windows 10 and 11, obviously, but also Apple's Mac OS, various flavors of Android, Apple's iOS for phones and tablets, and increasingly various virtual desktop environments, things like Windows 365 Cloud PCs and Azure Virtual Desktop. Those are becoming mainstream. And as you hinted, it can even extend to specific Internet of Things or IoT endpoints in certain specialized enterprise settings, maybe manufacturing, healthcare. So this expansive environment, it demands a deeply integrated understanding. You need to know system architecture across all these different platforms. You need nuanced security policies tailored for each one. And again, this keen alignment with the overarching strategic needs of the business. Endpoint administrators, I like to think of them now as the silent orchestrators of the entire digital workplace. They are the crucial individuals ensuring those seamless user experiences we all want, maintaining the high availability of critical resources people need to do their jobs, and guaranteeing secure access to corporate data, all while aligning their efforts with dynamic, constantly evolving business goals. Now, this broadening scope, it naturally raises an important question for anyone working in IT today. How does one actually become proficient and effective across such an incredibly diverse landscape of devices and technologies? Well, the MD-102 certification aims to provide exactly that proficiency.
Okay, that gives us a fantastic overview of why this certification is so relevant in today's digital landscape. It really paints a vivid picture of the modern IT pro. Now, let's dig into the what. What exactly is the MD-102 officially, and who is it specifically designed for? Who should be thinking about this?
Right, so the credential, its official name, is the Microsoft 365 Certified Endpoint Administrator Associate.
Yeah.
Its primary purpose, its core mission, is to rigorously validate real-world practical skills. Skills in deploying, configuring, securing, managing, and continuously monitoring devices and client applications, all within a Microsoft 365 tenant. And the emphasis, as we've kind of discussed, is heavily on using those cloud-native tools, most notably Microsoft Intune. What's really important to understand here is that it emphasizes hands-on operational knowledge over purely theoretical understanding. It's designed to directly reflect the demands of the actual job role in a busy modern IT department. It's really about being able to do the job effectively, not just, talk about the concepts.
So who exactly is the target audience then? Is this something only for, say, seasoned IT veterans? Or could someone newer to the field also benefit significantly from pursuing it?
Actually, it's quite broad. It's really designed for professionals at various stages of their IT career journey. For direct roles, yeah, it's perfect for existing desktop support technicians, help desk analysts, and maybe traditional IT administrators who are seeing their world shift. Also, network and system administrators whose responsibilities are expanding to include these cloud-managed endpoints. Essentially, anyone who works closely with Windows clients on a daily basis and is responsible for supporting users and managing their devices will find this certification directly relevant to their tasks. But, and this is important, it's also ideal for professionals who are maybe looking to transition into modern device management roles, or maybe just significantly expand their existing Microsoft 365 skill set. If you're eyeing roles that involve things like advanced device provisioning, maybe streamlining user onboarding, implementing robust security enforcement, or even looking at sophisticated support automation, then the MD-102 offers a very strategic, very tangible boost to your career prospects. It also highlights a crucial aspect: collaboration. An endpoint administrator doesn't work in a vacuum, right? They routinely collaborate with solution architects, other Microsoft 365 administrators, security administrators. They all work together to plan and implement a cohesive, modern workplace strategy. So it underscores the collaborative, often cross-functional nature of the role in any dynamic organization today.
Okay, that makes sense. It covers a good range of roles and ambitions. Are there any specific prerequisites for someone thinking about taking the MD-102 exam? What kind of existing background or knowledge should they ideally have?
Yes, there are definitely some assumed knowledge areas. Candidates should ideally come to the table with some existing experience to really maximize their chances of success. This includes a solid familiarity with Microsoft Entra ID. You need to understand how identities and groups work in that cloud context. Also, a working knowledge of various Microsoft 365 technologies is helpful, with a particular emphasis naturally on Intune itself. Beyond that, strong hands-on skills and prior experience in deploying, configuring, and maintaining Windows client devices are pretty essential. That's the core. Now, since the exam also covers non-Windows devices, iOS, Android, macOS having a foundational understanding of those mobile operating systems definitely helps too. And importantly, their role within an organization, or the role they aspire to, should strongly emphasize cloud services over the older on-premises management technologies. The exam's focus is firmly, squarely on modern cloud-first administration.
Got it. So with all that context in mind, what does the actual exam outline look like? Does it truly reflect these real-world tasks they'll be performing day to day, or is it maybe more abstract, more theoretical in nature?
No, it's definitely designed to be highly practical. It really aims to mirror those real-world responsibilities very closely. The official course outline, which is known as MD-102 T00, it's actually a comprehensive 5-day instructor-led course, and it dives deep into these areas, aiming to provide a solid practical foundation. The exam itself, based on its latest update from September 17, 2024, weights the required skills across 4 main functional groups. Maybe we can break down these core areas, emphasize the real-world implications of each one.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. Let's walk through those functional groups. What's the first major area someone needs to master?
Okay, first up, we have prepare infrastructure for devices. This section weighs in at about 25–30% of the exam, and it's really all about getting devices ready, laying the groundwork to be managed in a modern environment. It's foundational. It covers several critical components. First, adding devices to Microsoft Entra ID. Here, you'll need to really understand the different device join types, like Azure AD join, which connects a device directly to your cloud identity provider. You need to know how to register devices, particularly personal ones in those BYOD scenarios. And crucially, how to plan and implement groups for devices within Entra ID itself. This is absolutely fundamental for identity-aware management, making sure access to resources is based not just on who the user is, but also what device they're using and its state. Second, enrolling devices to Microsoft Intune. This is the process where devices actually come under that central management umbrella. You'll configure enrollment settings, including things like automatic enrollment for Windows devices, which really streamlines the process for corporate machines. You'll also cover bulk enrollment for iOS and Android, absolutely critical if you're managing large fleets of mobile devices. This even goes into specific Android profiles, like fully managed devices for corporate-owned phones versus work profile devices for personal phones. That separation allows IT to secure corporate data without, infringing on the user's personal privacy. It's all about ensuring all types of devices, corporate or personal, can be brought under centralized, policy-driven management. And third, within this first group is implementing identity and compliance. This involves managing roles within Intune itself, giving granular control over who in IT can do what. It covers deploying compliance policies across all the supported device platforms: Windows, iOS, Android, macOS. These policies are basically the rules that define what a healthy or compliant device looks like in your organization. You'll also learn how to integrate these policies tightly with conditional access. Conditional access is incredibly powerful. It acts like a dynamic security gate. It can require a specific compliance status before granting access to sensitive company resources.
It also covers configuring Windows Hello for Business for more secure, passwordless authentication, and implementing the Local Administrative Password Solution, or LAPS, specifically for Microsoft Entra ID. LAPS significantly enhances security by regularly rotating those local administrator passwords on devices, which helps prevent attackers from moving laterally if one machine gets compromised.
Okay, that first section really does set the stage. It's all about getting devices connected to the cloud, managing their identities, making sure they meet baseline requirements from the very start. Sounds like laying the essential groundwork, absolutely. What's the next major area then? The one focused on the ongoing day-to-day care and feeding of these devices.
Right, that brings us to the second and actually the largest section. It's manage and maintain devices. This makes up about 35% of the exam, reflecting a significant chunk of an endpoint administrator's actual day-to-day workload. This is where the ongoing care of endpoints really comes into play. You'll delve into several key areas here. First, deploying and upgrading Windows clients using cloud-based tools. This is precisely where that shift to modern management we talked about is most evident. You'll need to know how to choose intelligently between Windows Autopilot and provisioning packages, understanding which tool fits which deployment scenario best. You'll also need to learn the different autopilot deployment modes like user-driven, self-deploying, or pre-provisioning, and how to implement Windows client deployment using autopilot from a very practical standpoint. It also covers setting up the enrollment status page, or ESP. That's the screen users see during setup, providing a smooth, transparent experience. You'll cover planning and implementing provisioning packages for maybe offline scenarios or specialized configurations.
And, of course, managing upgrades for Windows 11. Crucially, this section now explicitly includes deploying Windows 365 Cloud PCs, highlighting the significant move towards virtualized desktops as a core part of modern endpoint management. And a key point to remember here, especially for folks familiar with older exams, while those might have focused heavily on the Microsoft Deployment Toolkit, MDT, the current emphasis, particularly after that September 17, 2024 update, is firmly on these modern cloud-first methods like autopilot. MDT is much less prominent now. Second, planning and implementing device configuration profiles. This involves creating highly detailed configuration profiles for Windows, Android, iOS, macOS, and even those enterprise multi-session devices used in virtual desktop scenarios. These profiles are how you enforce settings consistently, things like Wi-Fi configurations, VPN settings, device restrictions, security settings across your entire fleet. A really important part here is understanding how to import ADMX files. These are like digital templates, the same ones used in traditional group policy. Importing them allows administrators to control incredibly granular settings on Windows devices, bringing that familiar, precise control from the on-premises world directly into cloud management. This ensures consistency down to the smallest detail. You'll also learn how to precisely target these profiles using filters for exact application, making sure the right profile hits only the right user groups or specific devices. Third, implementing Intune Suite add-on capabilities. This area highlights some of the more advanced, often premium features that build on core Intune. Things like endpoint privilege management, which let standard users perform specific tasks needing elevated permissions without giving them full admin rights. That's huge for security. Managing applications via the Enterprise App Catalog for curated, trusted software deployment. Leveraging Microsoft Intune Advanced Analytics for deep operational insights and maybe proactive problem identification before users even report them. Configuring Microsoft Intune Remote Help for seamless remote support, allowing IT to assist users anywhere in the world. And understanding the use cases for things like Cloud PKI, which provides certificate services directly from the cloud for secure authentication, and Microsoft Tunnel for mobile application management, or AM. Tunnel for AM creates a secure VPN connection just for specific managed apps, protecting corporate data on personal devices without needing full device management. And finally, in this section, performing remote actions on devices. This is absolutely essential for today's distributed workforces. It means being able to remotely sync policies, restart a device, retire it from management, or even completely wipe it if it's lost or stolen, critical for security and managing the device lifecycle. You'll also learn about performing bulk remote actions for efficiency when dealing with many devices at once. Things like updating Windows Defender security intelligence definitions to stay ahead of emerging threats, rotating BitLocker recovery keys for enhanced data protection if a key gets compromised, and running complex device queries using KQL, the Custo query language. KQL is incredibly powerful. Think of it like a super advanced search engine for your entire fleet of devices. It allows an administrator to quickly pinpoint specific issues, identify performance trends, or find a particular device configuration amidst thousands, drastically cutting down on troubleshooting and investigation time.
Wow, that covers a really comprehensive range of day-to-day tasks, doesn't it? From the initial deployment right through to ongoing maintenance and even those advanced add-on capabilities. It's really clear how dynamic this role has become. Okay, so what about managing the actual applications users rely on every day? And then, of course, the ever-critical aspect of security. How are those covered?
Indeed. So the third section, which is Manage Applications, accounts for about 15–20% of the score. This focuses squarely on ensuring users have the right software tools they need, deployed securely and efficiently. This involves two main parts. First, deploying and updating apps. This covers the whole process. Preparing applications for deployment, understanding the different ways to deploy various app types, including those traditional Win32 applications and the more modern Microsoft Store applications, directly via Intune. And specifically, deploying Microsoft 365 apps, the familiar Office suite. You'll also learn how to configure specific policies just for those Office apps and how to deploy Microsoft 365 apps as part of an autopilot deployment, maybe using tools like the Microsoft Office Deployment Tool, or ODT. Managing Microsoft 365 apps, updates, and configurations through the Admin Center is also a key skill here, keeping everything streamlined. Second, planning and implementing app protection and app configuration policies. This part is absolutely vital, especially for those BYOD scenarios we mentioned. App protection policies, often called MAM policies for mobile, work to keep corporate data secure within specific apps, even when those apps are running on personal devices, without needing to fully manage the entire device itself. This strikes that crucial balance between corporate security and respecting user privacy. You'll also learn how to integrate these app protection policies with conditional access for an added layer of security, maybe requiring an app protection policy to be in place before accessing sensitive data. And finally, applying app configuration policies for both managed apps and managed devices, ensuring consistent app behavior and data protection settings across the board. Okay, and that brings us to the fourth and final major section, protect devices. This also makes up about 15–20% of the exam, and it really underscores the paramount importance of cybersecurity and modern endpoint management because, let's face it, every single device is a potential entry point for threats. Here you'll learn to. Configuring endpoint security. This is foundational security stuff. It includes creating policies for antivirus protection, setting up disk encryption, like BitLocker, to protect data at rest if a device is lost or stolen, and configuring firewall policies to control network access in and out of the device. It also delves into configuring attack surface reduction, or ASR policies. These are really cool. They proactively block common attack vectors and malware behaviors. You'll cover planning and implementing security baselines. These are predefined sets of security configurations recommended by Microsoft or your organization to standardize security posture across all devices. And critically, integrating Intune with Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. This integration is incredibly powerful. Think of it like giving every managed device its own highly intelligent security guard. Microsoft Defender for Endpoint isn't just about blocking known viruses. It's an advanced security platform. It actively hunts for suspicious activity, provides deep insights into a device's overall health and potential vulnerabilities, and allows administrators to quickly respond to and even automatically contain cyber incidents, often long before they escalate into major breaches. This includes the practical steps of onboarding devices into Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, and then effectively managing its extensive capabilities for threat detection, investigation, and response. And the second part here is managing device updates using Intune. This is absolutely crucial for maintaining both security and stability. You'll learn how to plan for device updates effectively, how to create and manage update rings, Update rings allow for staggered deployments, maybe testing updates on a small group of IT devices first, before rolling them out more broadly. This helps catch issues early. You'll implement update policies for Windows, but also for iOS and macOS. The exam also covers managing Android updates, including firmware over-the-air or FOTA deployments. These are device firmware updates managed remotely by Intune. And importantly, configuring Windows client delivery optimization. This helps manage bandwidth consumption during update downloads, which is especially critical in environments with many remote users or branch offices with limited bandwidth. And naturally, monitoring update compliance is also a critical skill, ensuring devices are actually getting patched and staying secure over time.
Okay, it's one thing to list out all these modules and skills, and that was a really detailed breakdown. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
But what does it actually feel like on the job? How does mastering these topics truly translate into making a real tangible difference in an organization's day-to-day operations, maybe even its overall strategic goals? This is where it gets really interesting for me.
Yeah, and this raises that important question we touched on earlier. How does all this deep technical mastery translate into undeniable strategic impact in the real world? Because MD-102 certified professionals, they really are pivotal in modern IT operations. Their skills directly enable core business functions. Things like business continuity, ensuring secure remote work is possible, maintaining adherence to often complex regulatory compliance requirements, and underpinning consistently high user productivity across what is usually a diverse and geographically scattered environment. They really are in many ways the silent architects of the modern digital workplace experience. Let's start by looking at how they are fundamentally transforming endpoint deployment. In any corporate setting, efficiency is king, right? So MD-102 administrators, they leverage tools like Windows Autopilot to pre-configure devices before they even physically reach the end user. Think back to the old days of manually imaging machines. This dramatically reduces IT's hands-on time. We're talking potentially hours of manual setup shaved down to mere minutes in some cases, and it vastly speeds up the whole onboarding process for new employees. Just imagine a new hire being fully productive from their very first day without ever needing to step foot in a physical office. Regardless of where they are located geographically, that's the direct, tangible impact. Additionally, these professionals manage things like provisioning packages. These allow machines to be configured even without direct network access initially. This can be crucial for highly secure environments, maybe field deployments, or scenarios where internet connectivity might be limited at first. This kind of deployment agility, this flexibility, is absolutely vital in today's fast-moving business world. It allows companies to adapt quickly, expand rapidly, and respond to changing needs.
Right, so it's really about enabling seamless operations from the very first moment someone interacts with a new company device, no matter where that device happens to be. That flexibility must be absolutely key then for empowering the modern remote and hybrid workforce, which, let's face it, has quickly become the standard operating procedure for so many companies now.
You've absolutely hit on a critical point there. Those cloud-based tools, particularly Microsoft Endpoint Manager and Intune, they are the absolute backbone of this capability. They allow administrators to apply comprehensive policies, deploy necessary software packages, and continuously track security compliance for devices that may never, or perhaps only very rarely, connect to a traditional corporate network. This capability is critical because it prevents significant security gaps. Those gaps would otherwise inevitably arise from unmanaged or inconsistently configured endpoints out there in the wild, which are a major source of vulnerability for organizations. Let me give you a powerful illustrative example. Imagine an employee working from home and unfortunately their company laptop gets stolen. An MD-102 certified admin using Intune can very quickly push critical security updates to all the remaining devices in the company, or maybe more critically in this specific case, trigger a remote wipe on that stolen laptop. This effectively protects sensitive company data from falling into the wrong hands. And all of this can be achieved remotely, immediately, without needing any physical access to the device itself. That capability can literally save a company from a potential disaster. Now, beyond just managing the physical devices themselves, these professionals are absolutely essential in fortifying identity and access control. That's a huge piece. They meticulously integrate Microsoft Entra ID with things like multi-factor authentication, MFA, to ensure that only verified individuals gain access to sensitive company information. That's baseline now. But what's truly fascinating here, and where the real power lies, is how they leverage conditional access policies. These aren't just simple on-off switches for access. They are sophisticated dynamic rules. They make real-time decisions based on a multitude of factors, things like the user's specific role in the company, the measured health status of their device, their physical location at the time of access, and various real-time risk signals coming from Microsoft's threat intelligence. For instance, maybe an employee attempts to access corporate resources from an unfamiliar country. The conditional access policy might automatically prompt them for an additional MFA challenge, just to be sure. Or maybe the device they're using doesn't meet the specific compliance standards set by the company. Perhaps it's missing the latest critical security patches. In that case, access could be restricted entirely or may be limited to only certain less sensitive applications. This aligns perfectly with a modern zero-trust security posture, where trust is never implicitly assumed, but must always be explicitly verified every single time access is requested. Furthermore, the certification is vital for organizations that are in the process of transitioning to the cloud. It covers managing those hybrid environments where maybe on-premises Active Directory is still synchronized with Azure AD for seamless coexistence. MD-102 helps bridge legacy systems and modern cloud management without causing disruption during that transition.
Okay, so it's really about dynamic security that adapts to the specific context rather than just relying on static rules. That definitely offers a much more robust defense posture. This must be incredibly important then for ensuring comprehensive security and compliance across the entire organization, especially with regulations getting stricter all the time.
Indeed. Endpoint administrators, they truly are the first line of defense in an organization's overall cybersecurity strategy, no question. They are the ones responsible for deploying those critical security baselines we talked about, covering antivirus definitions, comprehensive firewall configurations, robust disk encryption like BitLocker, all managed centrally and consistently via Microsoft Endpoint Manager. They then meticulously monitor compliance reports to quickly identify any devices that drift out of alignment with company policy, allowing for immediate investigation and corrective action. But their role is increasingly shifting towards proactive defense. Tools like Microsoft Defender for Endpoint provide these incredibly deep insights into device health and sophisticated threat detection capabilities. This allows administrators to proactively identify and isolate potentially compromised systems, and then guide the necessary remediation efforts. This represents a significant and I'd argue very necessary shift away from purely reactive support, my machine is broken, towards proactive security stewardship, essentially preventing incidents before they escalate into major problems. Moreover, in heavily regulated industries, think healthcare with IPA, finance with various regulations, or anywhere dealing with GDPR or standards like ISO 27001, these administrators are absolutely crucial for regulatory compliance. They are the ones who enforce these stringent standards by ensuring that all endpoint configurations adhere to strict data protection rules. This includes implementing technical measures for data loss prevention, maybe securing removable storage devices, blocking unauthorized applications from running, directly contributing to the organization's legal and ethical obligations.
Right, it sounds like they are genuinely on the front line, actively preventing issues rather than just waiting to react to them after the fact. That's a big shift. Okay, what about managing the vast array of applications users actually need to do their jobs every single day? That seems like could be a monumental task in itself, especially in large companies.
That's another major area where their skills truly shine. Streamlining application management at scale. It's a huge efficiency play. Automating application deployment and, crucially, updates through Microsoft Endpoint Manager means that new versions of critical business software can be pushed out to potentially thousands of employees simultaneously, often without any manual intervention required from the user or even from the IT staff themselves. Just think about the efficiency gain there compared to manual installs. When a new employee joins, their autopilot provision device can automatically receive the full suite of applications and specific configurations needed for their particular role, minimizing setup time and getting them productive much, much faster. And especially in those BYOD settings where employees are using their personal devices for work tasks, those app protection policies, MAM, are essential. Remember, these policies meticulously protect corporate data within specific mobile applications. Think of it like creating a secure container just for your work email, calendar, or documents on a personal phone. They do this without needing to take full control of the user's entire personal device. This strikes that crucial balance between robust corporate security and respecting individual user privacy, which is absolutely vital for user adoption and maintaining trust.
And then inevitably, when things do go wrong, because let's be honest, they always do in IT at some point, How does an MD-102 certified professional typically approach troubleshooting and supporting end users? What's the difference maybe from more traditional support methods?
Yeah, effective troubleshooting and user support is a core competency that really sets modern administrators apart. They leverage advanced tools like endpoint analytics, which gives insights into device performance and user experience. They use detailed logs collected by Intune, and they utilize tools like Microsoft Intune Remote Help to diagnose and resolve issues efficiently, often entirely remotely without needing to physically touch the machine. This minimizes disruption to the end user, gets them back working faster, and significantly enhances overall user satisfaction. But it's important to note, this is about more than just pure technical aptitude. It requires strong communication skills and empathy as well. Good administrators don't just silently fix the problem, they often explain the solution clearly, maybe guide users through self-service options where appropriate, essentially empowering users to resolve common issues themselves in the future. And finally, there's the whole area of proactive update management and lifecycle planning.
They are responsible for managing Windows Update for Business effectively, carefully setting up those update rings to control deployment schedules, and meticulously monitoring compliance dashboards to ensure devices are consistently secure and stable. This is really a critical art of timing and coordination, balancing the need for security patches with minimizing disruption to business operations and the user experience. The MD-102 also prepares you to think, well, longitudinally, to manage devices across their entire life cycle, from that initial provisioning and deployment through daily use and ongoing maintenance, and eventually to their secure retirement. This includes handling data migration off the old device and ensuring proper security commissioning. It's a complete cradle-to-grave approach to device management, ensuring continuity and security at every single stage.
Okay, so let's say you're listening to this, you're inspired, you're looking to gain these invaluable skills and earn the MD-102 certification. What's the best way to actually prepare for this thing? What are the key strategies that maybe separate those who pass relatively easily from those who really struggle? And importantly, what pitfalls should someone watch out for on their study journey?
That's a really powerful and practical question, isn't it? How do you effectively prepare for an exam that is specifically designed to test real-world proficiency, not just, rote memorization of facts? The advice from those who've successfully navigated and passed this rigorous exam strongly, almost universally, suggests a structured, disciplined, and most importantly, a very hands-on approach. This just isn't an exam you can successfully cram for by reading a book the night before. It requires practical understanding. First, and this is non-negotiable, you absolutely must understand the exam blueprint deeply. This means becoming thoroughly familiar with the official exam objectives, the skills measured document, and their weighted importance as published by Microsoft. For example, knowing that manage and maintain devices is the largest section, accounting for, 30–35% of your score. That helps you prioritize where to focus your limited study time and energy. But don't just read the blueprint as a checklist. Approach each domain not merely as a list of trivia to memorize, but as a real-world skill you genuinely need to master.
Think about how these tasks might differ between a small business versus a huge global enterprise. What specific tools are used in various deployment or security scenarios? What practical challenges might realistically arise when you try to implement these solutions in a live, complex environment? This kind of holistic, practical understanding will serve you incredibly well, both in the exam itself and, more importantly, when you're actually doing the job.
Right, that strategic approach to the content itself makes a lot of sense. Don't just memorize, understand the why and how. Okay, what about setting up a study plan? How long should someone typically allocate for preparation, especially if they're juggling this with a full-time job? Any rules of thumb?
Yeah, setting a realistic study timeline is absolutely crucial, both for successfully passing the exam and for actually retaining the knowledge long-term. A standard timeline for many candidates who already have some foundational IT experience, maybe particularly with Windows Client Management or some M365 exposure, often ranges from about 6 to 12 weeks. That seems pretty common. However, for those who are maybe relatively new to Microsoft 365 administration altogether, or new to modern endpoint management concepts, it could easily extend to 3 months, maybe even a bit more. It really depends on your starting point. The key, I think, is pacing yourself appropriately to truly master the material. You want to retain the knowledge long-term, not just pass the test and forget it all. So avoid cramming if you can. Structure your study time into manageable weekly blocks. Maybe dedicate each block to a specific domain from the blueprint. And always include regular review sessions to reinforce what you've learned previously. Consistency is far more effective than trying to do intense, sporadic bursts of studying. Now, when it comes to leveraging high-quality study materials, you definitely want to prioritize the official Microsoft Learn paths and any official guides that are directly aligned with the current MD-102 structure. These generally provide the most accurate and up-to-date content. Then supplement these core resources with video-based learning from reputable sources. Many successful candidates highly recommend channels like John Christopher has some great stuff. Intune training on YouTube is fantastic for practical demonstrations and real-world examples. Flashcards can be surprisingly useful, especially for memorizing acronyms. There are plenty. Specific command line tools you might need to know, and maybe intricate configuration paths within the Intune portal. Good for those granular details. For practice questions, and this is key, choose practice test banks that offer detailed explanations for why an answer is correct, but also why the other options are incorrect. This is how you truly understand the underlying concepts, not just memorize answers to specific questions. Now, a critical caution here. Be extremely wary of using outdated resources. Remember, the MD-102 replaced both the older MD-100 and MD-101 exams. Its content has shifted significantly towards modern cloud-first approaches. Materials designed for those previous exams might contain irrelevant or simply outdated information. For instance, some older content might still focus heavily on the Microsoft Deployment Toolkit, or MDT. But as we mentioned, recent exam updates, particularly those effective September 17, 2024, explicitly shifted focus away from most legacy Windows desktop and MDT questions, leading much more heavily into modern cloud-first methods like autopilot and Intune management. Some candidates have even reported encountering issues with potentially outdated questions found even in some official Microsoft Learn practice assessments. So it pays to cross-reference information and focus on the latest blueprint if you find conflicting material. Be critical of your sources.
Wow, okay, that's a huge heads up for anyone preparing right now. Beware the outdated info. It definitely sounds like hands-on experience isn't just a nice to have for this exam, but absolutely non-negotiable for success. You keep emphasizing the practical. So how does someone actually get that practical hands-on experience if they don't have access to a full corporate environment or a test tenant at work?
You've absolutely nailed it. The crucial practice lab cannot be emphasized enough. Seriously. No amount of reading, no amount of video watching can truly replace the value of getting your hands dirty, clicking through the interfaces, deploying policies, and seeing the results or troubleshooting when things don't work as expected. The MD-102 is specifically designed to test real-world proficiency, so you need to be able to actually do the tasks. Configure policies in Intune, deploy Windows clients using autopilot, troubleshoot common enrollment issues, monitor compliance status, push applications. You need to use the actual tools. The good news is you don't necessarily need expensive enterprise hardware or licenses. You can set up a very robust and effective home lab using virtualization software, VMware Workstation, Hyper-V, VirtualBox running virtual machines with Windows 10 or 11 clients, and critically, leverage the trial licenses that Microsoft offers for Microsoft Endpoint Manager, which include Intune, and Microsoft Entra ID premium features. These trials are often available for 30 or 90 days and are perfect for learning and development purposes. Some key lab tasks you should rigorously practice include deploying Windows devices with autopilot from start to finish, multiple times, creating various compliance policies for encryption, passwords, OS versions, and testing their effects on your VMs, configuring security baselines and seeing how they apply settings, implementing BitLocker encryption and practicing key recovery, setting up complex user and device groups in Azure AD for targeting policies, pushing different types of applications via Endpoint Manager, simulating update deployments using update rings across different virtual devices. This kind of practical immersion, this hands-on work, is consistently cited by successful exam takers as the single most effective preparation method. It solidifies that theoretical knowledge you get from reading by grounding it in practical application and muscle memory.
Okay, makes total sense. Lab. Got it. Now, beyond the preparation itself, what can someone expect on exam day? Are there any particular challenges or quirks maybe to be aware of, especially with the online proctoring experience or the types of questions they might face?
Yes, definitely. There are some important exam day specifics and potential challenges to be aware of, especially if you choose to take the exam remotely via online proctoring, which many people do now. The exam format itself typically includes a mix of question types. You'll see standard multiple choice questions, obviously. You'll likely get some drag and drop elements where you need to match terms or put steps in order, and often you'll encounter scenario-based case studies. These present a detailed description of a fictional organization and its technical requirements or problems, followed by several related questions based on that scenario.
The exam duration is usually around 90 to 120 minutes, maybe a bit longer if you factor in reading instructions and agreements. And you can expect somewhere in the neighborhood of 59 to 62 questions, give or take. One notable and sometimes controversial feature is that the Microsoft Learn website can theoretically be accessed directly within the exam interface itself, supposedly for reference. However, be very cautious about relying on this. Searching effectively under time pressure can be incredibly difficult and time-consuming.
It can really eat into your limited exam time, potentially costing you more time than it saves. In fact, one past exam taker I heard from reported that Pearson's OnView proctoring app actually crashed multiple times when they tried to access MS Learn during their exam. And then, bafflingly, the proctor warned them that MS Learn was considered a third-party site and therefore not allowed, which is a clear contradiction given it's a Microsoft exam referencing Microsoft's own documentation site. So relying heavily on that in-exam search capability seems risky and potentially problematic. Best to know your stuff. Also, be aware that those case studies, the multi-question scenarios, might sometimes appear after the initial review period at the end of the main question set. This can catch some candidates off guard, leaving them with very few minutes to read a complex scenario and answer multiple related questions. So it's absolutely vital to read every question carefully and manage your time strategically throughout the entire exam. Don't spend too long on any single question early on. Recent exam experiences from candidates also highlight a heavy focus on Microsoft Defender topics, particularly its integration points with Intune. And crucially, a significant number of questions related to iOS and Android management, including app configuration policies, app protection policies, MAM, various enrollment options for mobile devices, and ensuring compliance on those mobile platforms. Knowledge of hybrid environments, particularly co-management scenarios involving Configuration Manager alongside Intune, is also still important for the exam, as it reflects the reality for many organizations still transitioning. Oh, and one more potential online proctoring hiccup some users have reported is severe keyboard input lag when trying to type, especially if using the MS Learn search. This can make searching extremely frustrating and slow. So again, plan to know the material well enough that you don't need to rely heavily on in-exam searching. #tag career growth and long-term value of the MD-102.
Okay, so let's fast forward. You've put in the hard work, you've navigated the exam challenges, you've aced the test, maybe even passed with a really solid score like 826 or 862. Huge congratulations. But what does this achievement truly mean for your career? How does holding the MD-102 certification not just validate your current skills, but genuinely set you up for long-term success and continued growth in this dynamic, ever-changing world of IT?
That's the payoff, right? And honestly, this certification is far more than just, another badge to put on your LinkedIn profile or email signature. It really acts as a powerful catalyst for career transformation. It validates those practical, highly in-demand skills we've been discussing, and it fundamentally opens doors to new roles, new responsibilities, new opportunities. It proves, both to yourself and potential employers, that you're equipped for today's rapidly evolving IT demands and that you're ready for tomorrow's innovations as well. It's genuinely an investment in your professional future. Let's talk first about the immediate impact on your current role or the role you might be targeting next. For those currently working in, say, IT support or help desk positions, earning the MD-102 certification signals a very significant advancement. It demonstrates a clear proficiency in modern endpoint environments that goes well beyond just basic break-fix tasks. You effectively move from being someone who primarily reacts to problems after they occur to someone who can proactively manage, secure, and optimize an entire fleet of diverse devices. That's a big leap in value.
It positions you as the go-to person within your team or organization for complex issues involving user identity management in the cloud, device registration challenges, advanced security configurations, and enforcing policies consistently in these dynamic hybrid work settings. And remember, for many organizations, there's still this critical need for professionals who can effectively bridge the gap between legacy on-premises environments and the new cloud-based management tools. The MD-102 directly addresses this need because it covers fluency in both Microsoft Endpoint Manager, including Intune, and its crucial integration points with Configuration Manager for co-management scenarios. This makes you incredibly valuable, especially during ongoing cloud migration projects.
Okay, that makes perfect sense for the immediate impact, maybe getting a promotion or moving into a slightly different role. But thinking longer term, once you have this certification and maybe a couple of years of real-world experience applying these skills, What are the typical long-term career tracks and specialization opportunities that tend to open up for people?
Yeah, the MD-102 serves as an excellent springboard for a really diverse range of specialized and more advanced career paths. A very natural progression is moving into more senior systems administrator roles, or maybe IT operations engineer positions, where you're responsible for the overall health, performance, and security of broader IT infrastructures. But beyond that, it enables significant specialization in high-demand areas. You could focus on becoming a Microsoft 365 administrator, managing the wider suite of M365 services beyond just endpoints. Or maybe you specialize as an identity and access management specialist, diving deep into securing user authentication and authorization across complex cloud and hybrid environments. That's a huge field in itself. Another path is becoming a security administrator, combining your deep endpoint knowledge with broader skills in threat detection, vulnerability management, incident response, and security governance. You become a really critical player in protecting the organization. For those who enjoy design and strategy, you can move towards becoming an endpoint management architect. This involves planning and designing enterprise-level device deployment strategies, management frameworks, and security architectures for large, complex organizations. Or if you enjoy working with different clients and challenges, you could become a solutions consultant, maybe working for a Microsoft partner or a consulting firm, advising multiple organizations on best practices for Microsoft 365 endpoint management and their broader digital transformation journeys. And it's worth noting, the MD-102 also fits neatly within the larger Microsoft certification ecosystem. It can be a really strong foundational step towards earning higher-level credentials. Things like the Microsoft 365 Certified, Security Administrator Associate, or the Microsoft Certified. Azure Administrator Associate if you want to broaden into cloud infrastructure, or even aiming for the prestigious Microsoft 365 Certified, Enterprise Administrator Expert Certification. It helps you build this robust, verifiable portfolio of highly relevant skills.
That paints a very clear picture of potential growth paths. Lots of options there. And since technology, especially cloud tech, never ever stands still, how does Microsoft ensure that this MD-102 certification actually remains relevant over time? And what does that mean practically for someone who earns it? Do they have to retake the exam every few years?
That's a crucial point, and Microsoft has adapted its approach here. They absolutely recognize the rapid pace of technological change in the cloud space. So unlike some older certifications that might have had a fixed expiry date of, say, 2 or 3 years, Microsoft now requires annual renewal for its associate-level certifications like the MD-102. But, and this is important, it's done through a free online assessment available through Microsoft Learn. This isn't a full re-exam like the initial one. It's typically a shorter, more focused assessment designed specifically to test your knowledge on the new features, updates, and changes that have been introduced to the platform over the past year. This continuous learning and renewal model ensures that holding an active MD-102 certification always represents current, up-to-date expertise. It signifies you've kept pace with the technology. To stay prepared for these annual renewals and just generally stay sharp, professionals should make it a habit to regularly monitor Microsoft's official blogs and documentation for updates, maybe explore new features in those trial tenants or their own development environments, and actively engage in professional communities, forums, and user groups. This commitment to continuous learning is really what defines a successful modern IT professional. The learning never really stops. And beyond the direct exam topics themselves, there's significant long-term value in leveraging automation and scripting alongside your MD-102 knowledge. While deep scripting isn't necessarily a primary requirement for passing the exam itself, the skills validated by MD-102 combine incredibly powerfully with scripting capabilities, particularly using PowerShell and the Microsoft Graph API. This allows you to automate repetitive deployment tasks, configure complex settings across thousands of devices programmatically, generate detailed custom reports, and even perform sophisticated troubleshooting tasks much more efficiently. This leads to fewer human errors, lower operational support costs, and frees up your time for more strategic work. This ability to automate effectively is often a key differentiator for advancing your career. It's frequently a stepping stone toward more senior engineering-level roles, turning those manual, time-consuming tasks into efficient, reliable, hands-off processes.
Right, so it's not just about knowing how to manage devices by clicking through the portal, but also how to manage them smartly and at scale using automation. That definitely sounds like something highly valued by employers today. So speaking of employers, what's the actual market demand and recognition like for people holding the MD-102 certification? Are companies actively seeking out these specific skills?
Oh, absolutely. The market demand is strong and growing. The MD-102 certification is actively sought by hiring managers in a really wide range of organizations across different industries and sizes. If you just browse job descriptions online for roles like Endpoint Administrator, Modern Workplace Specialist, Systems Engineer, or even Advanced IT Support Engineer positions, you'll very often see this certification explicitly mentioned as a requirement or a strong preference. Or, at the very least, they'll expect demonstrated familiarity with the core technologies covered by the exam, things like Windows Autopilot, BitLocker encryption, Azure AD integration, Microsoft Intune administration, and Microsoft Defender for endpoint capabilities. Employers view the MD-102 as compelling, verifiable proof that a candidate understands both the high-level strategic vision and the necessary tactical execution required for effective modern desktop and device management. It significantly reduces their risk in hiring. And regarding salary prospects, while it's always highly variable based on factors like geographic location, the specific industry, company size, and of course your individual years of experience and overall skill set, MD-102 holders can definitely command competitive salaries in the marketplace. An average base salary often starts somewhere around the $80,000 USD annually mark for experienced professionals in the US, for example. And it can certainly be significantly higher in large enterprise environments, in specialized security-focused roles, in leadership positions, or in high-demand consulting roles. The salary reflects the high demand for these critical business-enabling skills.
That's certainly encouraging news for anyone considering investing the time and effort into this path. And finally, thinking beyond the purely technical aspects and the salary potential, what's the broader leadership and mentorship role that an experienced MD-102 certified professional might often play within their organization as they progress?
That's a great question because the role often evolves beyond just technical execution as you gain experience and credibility. Experienced MD-102 professionals frequently start mentoring junior technicians on the team, guiding them through the complexities of modern endpoint management, sharing best practices, and helping them develop their own skills. They often become instrumental in designing and implementing the policy frameworks that govern how devices are configured, used, and secured across the entire organization. They help set the standards. They also commonly progress into managing projects, perhaps leading initiatives for large-scale Windows 11 migrations, rolling out new security features like Defender for Endpoint, or implementing Autopilot across the company. This project management experience can naturally lead towards IT manager or project coordinator roles over time. And what's sometimes overlooked is that pursuing and achieving this certification really fosters strategic thinking. Endpoint administrators become crucial translators between those high-level C-suite visions for digital transformation or enhanced security and the practical technical realities on the ground. They are well-positioned to advise leadership on hardware procurement strategies, large-scale cloud migration planning, and preparations for critical compliance audits. They develop the ability to anticipate potential problems before they arise, to craft seamless and productive user experiences, and importantly, to embed ethical considerations into device management policies, ensuring things like data privacy and responsible technology use are always front of mind. Ultimately, they don't just manage systems, they actively help shape the future of work and build digital trust within their organizations. #outro.
Wow, what a deep dive indeed. It's abundantly clear listening to all of that the MD-102 isn't just, another item to check off on a certification list. It genuinely feels like it redefines and significantly elevates the role of the IT professional in our increasingly complex hybrid cloud-first world.
Indeed. I think this certification, it validates not just that essential technical proficiency across this incredibly diverse ecosystem of devices and platforms we've discussed, but it also validates a strategic mindset, one that blends that necessary analytical rigor with a profound understanding of user experience, security imperatives, and overarching business needs. It really affirms that you're ready to anticipate challenges, ready to reshape them into opportunities, ready to harmonize cutting-edge technology with those core business goals, and ultimately, ready to ensure that every single device and every single user interacting with it remains a strong, secure, and productive part of the larger digital ecosystem your organization relies on.
So here's a final provocative thought for you, our listener, to mull over. In a world where every single device, the phone in your pocket, the laptop on your desk, the server in the cloud, the sensor on the factory floor is both a potential powerhouse of productivity and, simultaneously, a potential vulnerability, how will you leverage these powerful modern endpoint management skills, whether you pursue the MD-102 or not, to not just manage systems, but to actively shape the future of work, security, and trust within your own organization?